Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call together the Glens Falls Industrial Development Agency meeting for April 18th, 2024. We have a quorum, and our staff and consultants and guests are here. We have no guests, I don't think, today, except maybe online. We called this meeting because we thought that we were going to have a new development agreement for Market Square available, and we don't yet have it. And so I'm sorry if I've wasted everybody's time, but we're working with Spring City Development Group to try to get that done, and hopefully we'll have something before our May meeting. And so the fact that we had no other business for the IDA today, I'm going to adjourn the meeting if everyone agrees.
Yes. Before we adjourn the meeting, how was the meeting with them when we met to discuss it? We're just updating that contract, right?
It was, I thought overall that it was a good meeting with our attorney and their attorney. There were some open questions that we had that we posed to them that I think they haven't been able to finalize yet. And so what we've done is we've asked that their attorney get back in touch with our attorney, Carol, and give us a revised draft. Okay. They also did announce to us that they engaged another law firm that is expert in low-income housing tax credit, a group called Cannon, Heyman, and Weiss out of Albany, and they basically notified us of that. And so that attorney may also be in touch with us. His name is Mike Greco. Okay. Other than that, we don't have a document back yet.
That's great.
Okay.
Yes, the reason I asked, because probably it's not definite yet, but we're looking to have an update on the DRI, a community update, probably in May, okay. Early May, and Carrie just requested if we could work a town hall with her because she wanted to have a meeting about the state budget. I assume she's hoping that the state budget will be passed soon. So, so that's great, and I'm glad to hear it. I mean, so things are moving forward. You just haven't got the finalized project.
Yeah, just to follow that up too. It doesn't seem at this point that there's any material differences in the agreement that we had from April of 2022, or like 2 years ago, basically. There may be a request to massage a few of the edges. I think from the IDA's perspective, the one issue was the pilot that we originally had included 4 properties, right? 41, 45, 49 South, and 36 Elm. 49 South, of course, the city is going to be retaining rather than selling it to the developer, and so that was part of the pilot. So those calculations ought to be redone, and that value is sort of extracted out. So, those are just recalculations to our understanding at this point.
Yeah, and they've hired a new lawyer because I assume that's not an easy process, working and finalizing this.
And so, as you know, there's a phase 1 project and a phase 2. The pilot for the phase 1 project is through the IDA. The pilot through the phase 2 project is through the county council in the city of Glens Falls.
Right.
So the bigger issue for us right now for the IDA is the phase 1 project, but they're also keeping us advised about what's going on with that phase 2. Okay. And that's the tax credit part of it. Yeah. There are historic tax credits in the phase 1 project, so there's some, but it's very different than the low-income housing tax credit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we can, under LDC, we can talk more about that if you would like.
Sure.
But the phase 1 project is more, we got a little noise outside?
We're just making sure we're not blowing up. It's okay.
It is this.
Oh, it is?
Fan.
It's the Denise says it's the fan.
There we
Yep.
go.
Good job. See, it pays to have people with all different expertise.
I'm glad you're not an emergency room nurse.
Right, exactly.
When all else fails, pull the plug. There we go.
It's a good thing you're not working in the ER.
Exactly.
I feel like it's the IT guy who tells me, "Did you turn it off?"
Right? Did you reboot? Right. Always reboot. Right.
Yeah.
I just want to make a quick point, fundamentally, the IDA has no interest,
Right.
financially, in phase two.
Right.
And if, in fact, all the information about Mike Greco with regard to the HCR project, the pilot, of course, is being provided through the city council, or the city, rather than the IDA. So, obviously, we have an interest, just not an organizational interest in phase two.
Right.
Well, I
Great.
think he's also working on that historic tax credit, which is phase one. So
Gotcha.
I think he is advising them on both ends
Yeah.
of the
Right.
phase one and phase
Sure.
two. But I don't think he's involved in the pilot on phase one.
Gotcha.
So,
Well,
yeah.
it's just funny because the reason I asked the question is so often you get notice that, oh, you've gotten this grant or you've gotten this tax credit. And you go, okay, it's all done. Here we go.
Right.
And that certainly with the DRI, that has not been the case. And so I was just assuming it's got to be something more like that too. They've now hired an attorney to help them with the process. And in my head, I had been like, oh, we got it, right? The governor announced it. It's done. And how silly I am.
There's your big check.
Yeah, that's
Right, exactly. Right.
So it's just still, it's good news. It's all moving forward, and please keep us updated if and how those negotiations go. Right?
And we can talk about this when we open up the LDC meeting, but the announcement from the state doesn't fully explain the cost of that phase two project. It's really a $25 million project, and what they announced was what the annual allocation of tax credit was, but that allocation is available for 10 years.
That's great.
And there's investors, so it's much greater
Impact.
than yeah. So I think it probably announced it made it look like it was like a $6 million project. It's actually a $25 million project.
That's what a fantastic opportunity.
If you want that in the minutes, I can go over that with you then.
Sure. Great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any other questions or comments on the market? Okay, Market Square, phase one. All right,
There you
then
go.
I'm gonna call for an adjournment of our meeting and.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
We are closed.
Very good.
Turn it
So.
over to you, Mayor.
So yes, we'll open up the Greater Glens Falls Local Development Corporation. It's still April 18th. Good morning. We had a workshop last night. Unfortunately, having it in the evening didn't produce any more public like we were hoping to for the meeting, but it was a great conversation. Everyone was able to attend except Tim Lawson, so thank you all for giving your time for that. We really do appreciate it. We had a few things on our agenda where Jeff told us about his urban farm project and asked the LDC to consider a transitional phase, if we would, to look at that. And Jeff's going to get us some more information for us to consider and how to best move forward, and with the long-term goal of getting the urban farm in the hands of farmers maybe, or of business local restaurants who could take a long-term benefit from the equipment that was purchased through a grant. So the city is progressing. It is great to note that we're actually growing vegetables after some time, right? So what a great opportunity for us. So.
And I understood from Jeff that there are 5 restaurants who have committed to taking that produce. So,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, so that's awesome. 5 local restaurants.
5 local
Yeah.
restaurants to take that.
Yeah, we're not shipping it to Syracuse. Right.
We are not shipping.
We're thinking our first actual product going into a restaurant, maybe June, Jeff, is that right? Or
If not May.
in May? Okay, great. So come back and as soon as you can with
Sure.
some details for us to consider. That would be great. So the LDC, I'm trying to see, I don't think we have much on our agenda. We've called the meeting to order. We're welcoming people, the projects, reports and resolutions. We have a resolution regarding an amended project agreement and property declarations, transferring the responsibility of keeping our facade changes at 19 Exchange Street, which was previously completed, to the new owner of the building for a period of 3 years. The balance of the original agreement is approved by New York State Homes and Community Renewal. Do you have any
this
questions?
I'm
comments?
sorry, this was a project that we talked about last month. Chris Patton, who owns the building and who has we're calling it an obligation to keep the facade up for 5 years, is selling the building to Urbecid, which is the company that is actually the tenant right now. And so the transfer of obligation is just the last 3 years of the 5 years of obligation to keep the facade the way it is, basically.
And pay us
there was
back
a-
if it's not.
And pay us back if it's not, right, or if they make some kind of significant change. And the question last month was, did we wanted to make sure that it was okay? So we got hold of our contact at Homes and Community Renewal, who said HCR has no concerns with this proposed transfer of obligation. So what we're asking for is to have the board approve it so that the sale can go through.
Yeah, and one reason, obviously, it's a timeliness issue to some extent, which is why we asked for this meeting, sort of off schedule, because they're trying to close on this, and they wanted to make sure that we were okay with that. The other reason I wanted to sort of take a couple of minutes was just because there are several other projects in place right now that may have similar arrangements. You might recall that within this larger pot of the 600,000 DRI grant, there were 3 sub projects or project types: businesses, nonprofits, and the facade grants. This obviously in the latter category. There are 2 other existing businesses. One, we talked a little bit about Flight, which you know is closed. I know that there are some negotiations going on about the possible transfer of ownership of that, which would follow along the model more of what would this board did with Flower Child Bakery and what was it originally?
I don't know. Amy's Cookies.
Abby's Cookies.
Abby's Cook, yeah.
Right, so our interest in Flight is in the equipment.
Correct.
Is the equipment still on site?
Yes.
Yes, it's all
You
intact.
verified that?
I have
Yes,
not,
I have.
but
Thank you. Okay.
And
Just- yep.
Yes, and the negotiations now are to try and, whether or not the best transferee would be perhaps the owner of the building or the owner of the business coming in, right? Not that it matters too much to us, other than how expedient it is. And then you may also be aware that there has been a recent transfer of operations of Craft on 9. If you've seen posts recently, Rob Murphy, the current owner, appears to have had some health problems and is sort of relinquishing the operations of business. I have not yet determined whether or not that consists of an operation or transfer of ownership. If it does, we'll need to go through this same process with them as well. But they're trying to keep that operation as seamless as possible. I think they just reopened in the last week or so. They had a brief closing. I saw the menu. It looks very similar. Anyway, so I just wanted to make the board aware that there may be a couple of other similar, but we now have a precedent for how this goes about, and HCR seems to be very comfortable with these, particularly to the extent that there's no change. In the case of Exchange Street, I think that's actually really a confirmation of the value, right? The fact that the existing tenant wants to buy the building, right?
Sure.
That
That's
confirms
what
their interest
was-
in solidifying their position in the city. It also gives the developer a chance to recycle his money into projects that
Something
he
else,
can
sure.
build something else. So I think it sort of confirms the value of the project
Right.
that we did.
On Exchange Street, is there a second floor? There's a second.
There's
A
a
little bit.
1-bedroom apartment
Right.
on the left side.
There is?
Yeah.
Oh, so they don't use the upstairs. They rent that out as a 1-bedroom?
Yeah, yeah, it's
Okay,
just
and that's been sold too?
It's
part of the
one
building.
It's
Yeah.
part of it, okay. It's full, it's not just, I just want to make sure it wasn't just the,
No,
Downstairs.
it wasn't, yeah. A condo.
that's it.
Right. Cool.
Okay, so do we have a resolution to approve the amended project?
Yep, we have the resolution, we just need the vote, right?
All right, so
Yeah, we have a motion,
I make a motion to approve the resolution as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion transfers. The second resolution was the development agreement, but we don't have that, so we won't have that, we won't bring that resolution forward. And not having any other business, again, from last night's workshop, if you can all consider who you think would be great for local business folks who could help serve on these sub-advisory committees about moving forward with our Market Square project. Would love to have please send us emails so we can start to pull that group together, and I'll let you know and invite you to all those meetings as well. We know here, and again, just a few moments ago, I ran into the chamber president, Tricia. She's happy to join us and to refer local businesses, owners that she's aware of into those subcommittees, right? And then last night, Jim Siplon had agreed that he'd like to do that. And so anybody else you can think of, I know we mentioned lots of people last night, if you could give them all a call and see if they'd be willing to come in, and we'd love to talk.
You have the college already committed, right?
Christine Duff is absolutely. Okay. So I'm gonna I'm gonna wait until I'm gonna start calling people and get it on there. I just don't know if I can get a meeting of that group before our May 2nd.
Oh yeah, no, we're not in a rush. So I don't think. Right?
Well, I don't know if it's. Yeah, I just was saying I don't know when it's gonna fall. But go ahead.
And two other people that I'd recommend. One is, and I don't know him, so I can't contact him, but whoever the chef is that runs.
John Cordes knows him quite well.
Yeah, the
chef. So John said he would reach out to him.
I'll make sure I speak to
Matt.
him.
That's
great.
Okay.
So
we'll
multiple people talking.
I'll let Christine Duffy know that he's one of the people. She actually suggested, she didn't mention a name, but she said she knew that they'd be interested in talking to us and could help share information with us.
And then early on, Maureen Chase was advising us when we first got started on this several years ago, and I don't know if she'd be willing to serve again, but she's very knowledgeable in this area as well. And
fantastic.
I'd be happy to reach out to her if you'd like me to, but I think you probably have her contact information.
I don't know if I do, but if not, I'll send you a quick email.
Okay.
That's great. We'll start moving on that right away. All right.
The sooner we know what that should look like or have in it or whatever, the better off we're going to be.
Absolutely. Yeah. So other than that, I have nothing. Any other questions, comments, discussion?
No, just thank you.
Yes, thank you all again. What a great evening.
Right.
So let's see. With that, our next meeting is Thursday, May 9th here at 8 a.m. Mary's not here right now, but
Be
I know
here
she'll
before we know it.
That's right. That's great. So, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second?
All in favor?
All right.
We stand adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.